of my coding journey about learning how to code and learning many other things. The last time I stopped was this game, and I think that everything now should work. So yeah, everything is working now. So we have created this code, as you can see. So this code, I will tell you how this code works. So we call our function from here. So that's how we um, begin to call our function. And this function is then executed in here. So it is called from this name, next sequence. So it has an anonymous callback function that has these things. So let's take it step by step what these things are. So the first one is we create a variable called random number, and this variable has a random number that is going into this variable. It has a random number from 0 to 3. So why from 0 to 3? Because later on we will putting this number into our array that has 4 elements, but this array begins with 0. So the red is 0, the blue is 1, the green is 2, and yellow is 3. So that's why we have a random number from 0 to 3. I guess that's a bit understandable. So after that, we create another variable in which we store our colors, random colors, I would say. So this button colors array, if we actually, instead of random number, we pick from 0 to 3, we'll pick one of the 3 colors. So now what we have done is this random number gets into this array, and it actually changes to numbers, to different numbers that have 0 to 3 meanings. So that's about it. Later we have an empty array that's called game pattern. So in here you can see we push the random chosen color that we have, and what happens now is that every time we refresh our page, HTML page, one color gets into the game pattern array. Later on we have how we can actually toggle these things in here, these squares. These squares, all of them, they have a unique ID. So this one has a green ID, this one has a red ID, this one has a yellow, and this one has a blue. So we, every time we refresh our page, this random chosen color toggles the ID, one ID of the square, and the square makes such moves. Actually, there is jQuery in here, so you can see this dollar sign is the sign of jQuery. And later, after all of this we have done, we play this variable called playSound. So it has a function that is also called in here. This is called a random chosen color. We get into here because in order for us to play the sound that we have in our array, we have in our random chosen color, we need to have we have a separate play sound. It takes a name, so it's this random chosen color. So for example, blue, and it plays out sounds that are in here. So it's the yellow, green, blue, red, and after the audio plays. So that's how it works. So we have done a nice job about actually understanding how this can work properly and why does it work. Of course, for those who are new and maybe you don't have that much experience, it might sound really difficult to understand how this logic works, but um, any of us was always a new guy, so you should be always ready for any kind of like new things. For me, it's also new. I'm also learning, and I am trying to explain with my own language why it's this, why it's that. Because in order for you to understand why things are as they are, um, you need to um, actually tell yourself how this thing works. So that's like a plain and simple thing how projects actually work, because many things are actually, for you to check how things really work, a lot of things are unknown because people don't have enough practice. They have like they don't really understand how the things are working, and mm, without practice and without telling you how this code works, a lot of things are under the radar. So that's how I try to say to myself how this thing works. So the next step we should do is um, we need to check which button is pressed. Um, so when I think about this, I first of all think about that I actually need to press a button. So um, that's the first thing that comes to my mind, is I need to press a button. I will be using for this job jQuery, as it's more easier. For me to understand. We can also use GS, that's not a big deal. I wouldn't say it's really hard. So the first thing that I have in my head is I need to make a button, somewhere on top. Let's begin in here. So Actually, you can hear that whenever I try to upload or go from my screen, there is some sort of a sound happening because it's all from these colors, so they actually trigger the sound. I can mute this so it wouldn't trigger any sound, because sometimes when you're concentrated it actually it's a bit I would say not so cool. So the first thing I need to understand is where should I click. So I have a lot of IDs, so already I should not click on these IDs. That's the wrong thing. I have classes, and all of the buttons are in here. They have a button class. So the first thing I should know that I need to click on the button. So in jQuery we have this on, and here click, and after, I don't know if in jQuery they have arrow functions. Let's use the function word. So after, we are calling an anonymous function. So now I need to check, do I actually click on my buttons? Let's say console log click. We'll always be checking, yeah. So now my click works. So I click on these buttons, and so inside this button we need to store our click inside a color. So for example, I have clicked on a green color and I need to store this color inside for example, inside a variable. So let's think how we should work with this. I'll need to create a variable called var because I'm creating it inside jQuery. So it will be called user choosed color. So this variable, it will store all of the clicks that I make, and let me show you how I'm gonna do this. So first of all, I need to see on what object I am clicking. So let's say we're gonna test this through this keyword. As you can see, I think it's from the, I'm gonna delete this because it's so annoying. So nothing is happening. I don't know why. I need to maybe put it on top. Yeah, nothing is still happening. So I need to somehow get, each time I click on the button, I need to get the colors from these buttons. So this always refers to the button. Actually, yeah, I didn't write a console log. That's why I did not understand why it doesn't work. Let's check it again. Yeah, so every time I click on a button, I see that every button has its own unique ID. So how do we actually pick the ID of a button, like using jQuery? Let's get to the site of the jQuery.com. We will use the AP documentation. I will show you our favorite website that was a really nice thing. So in here it should say that if we want to get the ID of the button, how do we do this? I think it should say, so it's the ID selector, as you can see. So there is it is. So actually they did not use the this word, but we already have the idea how things are used. So I'll be using it in a bit different way, because I think in JavaScript it has the same like functionality, and I'll be using it in a I'll show you how. So we already know that we'll need to use this word, and every ID, so I'm gonna check again. There might be something. So here it is, the attribute. So we can get the attribute of the button, even if it's like in here. You can see that checked, check. So it's actually searching for the checked button in here. And in here I can see that it's actually searching for the title. So that's the attribute, not the ID. I was thinking about the ID. So it's the attribute, and by using the attribute we can get the ID of each button. Let's check this out. So this dot, I'll be using the console log so I could understand better what's going on. So that's how we use the ID selector. And oh, it doesn't find it. I don't know why though. I need to think about it. Why doesn't... Actually, I should have put this fence, or however we'd call it, hash. I think that was the error. Yeah, so as you can see, when I click on any button, I get the ID of this button. And the ID of this button is the name of this color. So this is red, this is blue, this is yellow, this is green. Okay, so now I store my color in here, but I'll need to save it in my user choose color. So how do we do this? Actually, as far as I see, you should store your buttons or anything like this inside one ID. So let's say everything that is stored, it should be stored on the, I think the data should be on the right, and on the left you store what is this data about. So for example, we have this user choose color variable, and we store in it from the right this data. So we get this word, it's the button. We get the attribute, so this is the ID of each button, and we store in this now variable. I can check that user choose color now is stored inside this button. So every time I press this button already has some data inside our variable. So that's how we store colors now from this thing. The next thing, we have already a game pattern array. So that's where the game, it auto selects one of the colors and stores inside um, our array. But now I need to store my clicks. So how do we do this, my friends? Is we need to make another array. So I'll be using this one, user clicked pattern, and it will be empty, and I will be using this array. So the user clicked, oh no, user clicked pattern, this array will be storing user choose color. So now we have two arrays that are storing, the one at the bottom is storing the auto array, the auto color, the one that has the button in it is storing my own color. So that's how we are working it. So that's actually how we'll store each color in here. So now I need to make a new thing. That is, I need to add sounds to the buttons that I click. Right now, I only have a random sound that is being heard from here. I already have a sound, so now I need to make yeah, sometimes it actually works like this. So I'll be storing now the sound of the button that I click. How do we do this? That's not an easy task. You know, in coding, a lot of things that are not are understood straight away are better understood if you go through a lot of steps, like easily and slow, because otherwise you might get in some sort of a mess usually. So now I will be actually calling my play sound function, because I already know that there is a stored color. I already used the play sound, and in here already used how I can call it, and I can actually call it again after I press the button. So This play sound will now play my own color that I click, but after the last upgrade I don't think that it works properly, but we'll see. So now I've made a function. I used my variable called play sound again, but instead of using random chosen color, I am using my own color. So now you can see that after clicking, every color plays its own sound. So it has some unique things that you should understand, is that this function that I've created, the button and the click, now it plays out my own sound. So that's how I think it should go. And at the moment, my my sound plays the same for every other buttons or refreshes that I make. So now I have everything at least working for now. But you can see that after the last update, the play function is disabled because I need to interact with the document first. I think that was made because there were some viruses through the sound coming into the PCs of many people, and they got bored because of this. So that's how I figured it out, that um, many people didn't like how things went for them. So now that my project actually plays the sound after clicking, we will go to the next step, and now we will be actually animating the buttons. So that's not an easy task too. I don't think that there is an easy task in any of this situation, but we need to create a function that should um, use the styles, use the pressed how do you call it, pressed button or selector. I think it's selector, and it should add this color. So I would say like this is an interesting thing. So how should we start this nice and shiny idea? So now I'm gonna add animations to my buttons, and I know that's always not an easy task. So after sound, I will add animations. I don't know if the logic is right in here, but we're gonna check. So now I'm gonna create animate our press buttons, and how should we actually work with it? Like, we should call this. At first I will call this, yeah. So it will be always called for me to check, because I'll need to know that I need to add a class to each button. So we'll add this class. This class is called pressed to each button in auto mode, at least for now. That's how the logic tells me it should work. So let's say we need to get a button now because we already have a button. We know how to click on the button. So let's say we have a button like this, and we'll call this ID and console log it just to understand does it actually work like this? No. So it doesn't. Okay. So to my surprise it doesn't work like this. Maybe like this. Yeah. So now I can see that I have my ID correctly. I have written my ID correctly, and now I need to add to this button. Let's say we'll write it again. We need to add to this button that is blue. We need to add in jQuery, as far as I remember, if we use this add class, we'll add pressed. So let's check it out. Yeah, so you can see now my button has turned gray. So I should not only add a class, but this class should be removed after a certain time. So as far as I know, there is a function called setTimeout. So we'll be using it. So this function, after a certain time, this function, it will remove the class of the animated button after it is pressed, and it will restore its color. So we already know how to press on the button. We already know that our button was blue. So now we need to check if our button will restore its own color back, but we will put in here like a small timer, 300 milliseconds. So now something is not working. I guess I will update it. Yeah, it's actually it's removing itself, but why? And it's actually removing too fast. I need to think. So actually it's working how it should be, because I haven't connected it to the pressed option. So actually it's working how it should be. I don't know. So now after I know how to put inside in here color, I already have this play sound user choose color. Now I need to use the animate button the same, like this. Look at this, animate, press. So it will be using user choose color, and because I'm already using in here something, I need to also write in here a variable that can give this color somewhere in here because I cannot hard code like this, like blue. So I'll need to use like and give it a proper name so I wouldn't be mixed user current color. Let's say like this. So in here this variable will be used, user color current color, user current current color. So now I don't need this animate press call because already I'll be calling after I press. Let's see what will happen. As you can see, after I press any button, it goes gray for like 300 milliseconds. That's how it should work. And now we have made a nice job of this. So now we are actually what can I say? We are actually not only using randomly generated colors in next sequence, we are also using our own colors that are using sound and animation. So you can see the sound is the first one, the animation is the second one. We also see the logic behind the sound and how it plays. So it actually puts the name and the sound into this function, into the name of the function called play sound, and after we animate press. So the next sequence starts in auto mode. It doesn't actually go after clicking. It should start first, then I choose my own buttons. You can see that there are sounds, there's everything working, and that's how we actually made a nice job in here and made a lot of interesting ideas. We have used today two things, even three. So we used the button, is the click of this button, and we used play sound with animate press. So I guess that's it for today. I will be streaming a bit later, maybe sometime today, maybe sometime later, but you can see that already our code is interesting. It looks a lot bigger. We are using in here jQuery and JavaScript, so stay tuned for some more